What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of A Founder's Corner. I'm your host, Trey Lansdell, and I am very, very, very excited for today's topic because I think today, this episode is going to be one that really helps out a ton of you. And I really, really mean it. My hope is that you get a ton of value from it, and it changes the way that you approach this business and the journey that we all go through. So what do I mean by that? Well, here's today's topic. The topic for today is how to win when you're losing. And the reason why this topic is, I don't know if I would call it emotional, but it's important to me is because I believe fundamentally at my core, this is something that we all go through. We all go through periods in this business and in entrepreneurship in general. Doesn't matter if it's our business, doesn't matter if it's any business. In this little journey that we're on, at some point, you are going to feel like you are getting the shit kicked out of you. You are going to feel like you're getting your butt whooped. And if you haven't gone through it, you're either going through it currently or you are going to go through it. And, this is a very pivotal moment in your career because ultimately these periods, these seasons that you go through will determine the outcome of your career. It will determine the business that you build. It will determine who you become. And I think like anything great in life, I think if something is worthwhile and if it's meaningful and it matters, we are going to have to go through an element of struggle to accomplish that, right? If I want to go and get jacked and look super ripped and juicy and swole, I got to go through to the gym and I have to put my body through pain, through hardship, through struggle. If I want to have a great marriage with my wife, doesn't mean we're going to wake up every single day and be super happy and we always see eye to eye and there's never any challenge between me and her. There's going to be difficult conversations. There's going to be times of contention. Yes, we're going to fight. There are going to be periods where we go through struggle and hardship, and that is what ultimately makes the relationship stronger. And I believe the same is true in business. When you are building a business, no matter how big or how small you want it to be, as you are going through the period of building your company, building your organization, there are going to be periods in your business where you face high elements of difficulty, high elements of struggle. You are going to have chargebacks on your biggest clients. I'll put it to you this way. We just got back from our Vegas convention. And by the way, thank you to those of you that come up and approach me at convention and say hi and tell me how much you appreciate our podcast and our content and what we put out on social media. It's a really humbling feeling, to be honest with you. I started this business at 19 years old and now to put out content that touches some of you guys and helps you guys. It's a really weird feeling, to be honest with you, to kind of have that level of recognizability. But I really am humbled, and it really does hit me quite a bit to know that you guys, take some value from it and that it helps you. And I hope I can continue to do that. But I digress. So again, thank you for that. But I remember we were just at convention for our Vegas trip. And there's a lot of people in those stands that they got up there and they heard, my mentor Hallbrook speak. They heard their mentor speak. They heard Ed give this amazing message at the end. And I believe it was one of the best conventions our company has ever done. And there's so many of you that were crying in the stands, and now you're going to go make a big decision and you're going to change your life and change your business. Let me ask you a question. How's that going? Right? How's that going? I'm willing to wager in the couple weeks that we've been back, you've probably been smacked with a pretty big chargeback. You've probably had one of your best guys quit. You've probably faced some adversity, and now you're going through it again. And all the energy of convention's now out the window, right? You completely forgot about it all. You forgot that feeling, and now you're right back to the humdrum that you were at before. I say this because I know what it's like to go through that. I've been through that. I know what it's like to get my butt whooped in business and feel like I'm not growing and feel like I'm actually declining in scale, feel like my cash flow is going down, feel like I'm just losing. I know what all that feels like, and it's easy to get caught up in that rut. So today I want to go through 4 tangibles that can hopefully get you out of it. And I want to make this really clear. You're never going to have a season where you don't feel like you are struggling in business. It's always going to happen at certain points. If I ever find out the magic secret or the special sauce to avoid down periods in business, I'll be the first to let you know. But I'm going to be honest with you, I haven't found it. I know that I'm going to go through ups and I know that I'm going to go through downs. The only thing that I can control is how quickly I get out of the down. And so I would argue that's the only thing you can control as well. You're going to go through tough times. You're going to go through hard periods. The question is how long you stay there. Everybody gets knocked down. How long are you going to stay on the mat before you get back up on your own 2 feet? I would argue you'd want it to be as quick as possible, right? Because I want it to be as quick as possible for me too when I go through it. So let's get into it. 4 tangibles. 4 tangibles to help you win even when you're losing. Point number 1 is return to the fundamentals. And I know this sounds really, really simple, but there's a point behind it. It is simple. And what I tend to find with people, especially in this business, especially when they're going through hard times, what I tend to find with every single person, the more their business stagnates, the more that they're slowing down, the more their cash flow declines, the more their recruiting drops, the more their production drops, the more chargebacks they take on. You know what they all do? They all get fancier. They all try and find that like winning formula. They all try and find that thing that no one else is doing. They all try and find that thing where it's like, if I just do this, if I just go all in on this, well, that'll build my business back up and I'll take everyone out. Well, yeah, maybe. Maybe you'll be the 1 in 100 that has that happen to them. I'm not going to discount it. But here's what's more likely to happen is you're going to waste a bunch of time on things that don't really work. You're going to get even more frustrated. You're going to slow down even more. And then you're going to be even further behind than you would have been if you just got your head down and put your ass to work. Straight up. Like straight up. This is going to be more of a direct episode if you can't tell. And I know this because I've been that guy. I'm a guy who I would say I am talented at this business and at this industry. And I'm also the guy that at times when I felt like I was struggling in the business, I would always try and reinvent the wheel. I'd always try and find that little thing, right? That little trick, that little hack that no one else was doing. I was the guy who, I thought the trick to growing my business was freaking, running lead generation and cold messaging 1,000 people, 2,000 people a day on LinkedIn and door knocking and sending out flyers and anything I could do to build up new volume, new market, new momentum. Well, the reality of what happened is I would do all those things, and guess what? I just slowed down. I moved even slower, and it distracted me from the things that were actually going to move my business forward. And it actually just made me resent the business even more because I was putting in all this work, all this time, all this effort for no result, receiving no result whatsoever. And it just made me struggle even more. So what do I mean by returning to the fundamentals? I'm going to be honest with you. There's no cold lead gen system out there that's going to magically build your business from the ground up for you. There's no AI system that you're going to build that's somehow going to put your business on its back. There is no cold call script that you can run. Here's the thing. Not to say that things like those can't help, and not to say that things like those can't enhance your business, but they're not the fundamentals of the business. And oftentimes people confuse the fundamentals with an enhancement. It's not about reinventing the wheel. You can still refine the wheel, but it's not about reinventing it. And that's where people get messed up. So what ultimately grows our business? It's not any of those things. We are in a business that is founded on the idea of connection and relationships. That's it. It's the connection and relationship business. So what moves our business forward? What are the fundamentals? Well, I want you to think of the 3 things that actually move our business forward. Oftentimes we think that there's a whole bunch of things that we have to do within our business to grow it. And yes, that's true. Yes, we have to run trainings. Yes, we have to host presentations. Yes, we have to have a solid system. Yes, we should have an online presence. Yes, we should build a brand. Yes, we should have all these things in place. That isn't what fundamentally moves your business forward. There's a difference between what the things I just mentioned and what fundamentally moves your business forward. So what are they? I believe they are these 3 things. Number 1, prospecting and outreach, which is basically just finding new names and numbers and contacting the new names and numbers. That's it. Building new inventory. How can we do that? You can do it a bunch of different ways. If you want to go out and prospect, which by the way, nobody prospects in person anymore. So if you're actually doing it, you're like a lone unicorn. Nobody does it. It's a dead art form. And so if you're actually able to do it and you're good at it, you are almost untouched by anyone else, especially if you can master other methods of generating new inventory. But it can be, prospecting in person, prospecting online. By the way, actual prospecting, not messaging 2,000 people a day on LinkedIn. I'm talking about cultivating relationships online, locally, or across the country, whatever. It doesn't matter. Generating referrals, taprooting the no, reaching out to people that are, creating spheres of influence, people who necessarily do not want to be within your business. They do not necessarily want to become a client of yours at this point in time, but you have a great relationship with them. Use them as a sphere of influence, meaning they are someone who can generate new names and numbers and referrals for you, even though they're not a part of your company. Beneficiary farming, right? Things of that sort. There's a ton of ways out there, you guys, to create new referrals, new inventory, and new prospects. You just have to think of them. So that's the first thing. The second thing is writing sales, actually putting pen to paper and making money. Part of the reason why you're probably struggling in the business right now is because you rely too much on your team to pay your bills. Straight up. I was in a hurry to get to six figures as a marketing director. And one of the things that I always push within my organization is I want my MDs to get their ring. I do not want SMDs at 50, 60K cash flows now managing people. Because what it looks like is you got a broke person managing a bunch of other people that are also broke. And you got a broke person who doesn't know how to make any money teaching other people on their team how to also be broke. And when you do that, that starts to sound a little bit like what they call us on Wikipedia, doesn't it? So you have to be able to make money off your own pen, which means you have to be able to go out and write sales. The truth of the matter, you guys, is I never wanted to rely on my team to make money. Now, there comes a tipping point, there comes a capping point, sure, where, for example, I personally can write about $250,000 to $300,000 a year, take home income off this pen. I can do that. But I also know that there's a cap there. I know that at $300,000, $250,000-ish, I can't really take that any further. Maybe if I was in an amazing market and I had millions of dollars to move, and maybe also if I was single and didn't have kids, and I actually want to have a relationship with my wife and with my children and with my friends. I do not want to be the guy who is a pure personal producer. I don't want to be a guy who comes out of nowhere and throws up a $1.5 million in cash flow solely off his pen. I have no interest in that. So I know there's a capping point. I know at some point I need to scale and grow and build an organization to actually take that further. But the reality is I also know that whether I do or don't, I can pay my bills. My question to you is, do you have that same level of confidence, and do you have the same body of evidence to back that up? And most people don't. So can you go and make six figures off your pen, you guys? Go and make six figures by yourself. Not only does that create a high degree of confidence, but it also creates a high degree of moral authority within your organization, because now your team goes from thinking, oh, Trey needs me to pay his bills. That's why he's taking me into my market, and that's why he's on me so much to get licensed. They go from that to, oh, Trey doesn't need me, and he wants me to win. He wants me to grow. He's going to go make money with or without me. The question is, am I going to follow him? So that's the reality. And by the way, if you know how to make money, guess what? It's way easier to train your guys how to make money. If I always tend to find there's a correlation. The SMDs, the agency owners, the trainers that all know how to make money off their own pen are also have teams that make money. All the best builders, all the best agency owners, all the best team leads at one point were phenomenal producers, and then they translate that skill set into their team. So that's the second thing. The third thing, recruiting. Go get some people. Go build your agency. Go build your team. Part of the reason why you probably feel like you're stuck and you're stagnant and you're not winning and you're not growing is because you are probably trying to drag along the same 2 or 3 people in July that you had in January. And shit, some of them might have even been recruited last year, and they're still in the same position. They're still grinding through licensing, or they're still licensed but not doing anything. You still have to fight with them to come on every training. You still have to fight with them to run the system. You still have to fight with them to come to big events. You still have to fight with them to do basically everything you tell them to do. And then you wonder why you're frustrated, because you're having to pour all your time, all your energy, and all your effort into the same 3-4 guys that, quite frankly, just frustrate you. And they don't have the same level of commitment you do. And by the way, that's not their fault because you're the trainer, you're the senior partner, you're the SMD, you're the team lead. You should have a higher degree of commitment than they do because they haven't built it yet and they haven't seen the dream. Now, will they figure it out? Maybe, maybe not, but that responsibility isn't on you to get them there. Your responsibility is to give them a good environment and a good example, and the rest needs to figure itself out. And it will be determined based on the person. So if you feel frustrated chasing after the same people, here's the remedy to that. Go get 3, 4, 5, 6 new directs within a month or two. Go get some fresh blood you can work with. Go get some new guys that are excited, they're energetic, they're driven, that you can pour your time and effort and energy into. Because guess what you'll acquire if you go find some guys like that? They'll have 3, 4, 5, 6 guys each that you can get in front of and bring on. The remedy to most of your frustration is just building a new wave. Building a new wave. And so if you can build it, guess what? All the frustration disappears. It takes all the stress off you because a lot of you guys probably feel like you are doing it solo right now. A lot of you guys probably feel like it's all on you because you have a small team that doesn't do anything. So the responsibility of whether you live or die in this business, whether your clients are taken care of or not, whether your team is successful or not, you probably feel like the entire responsibility falls on you. And that's a pretty big burden to hold because now you feel this sense of obligation to get these couple of guys over the finish line and they don't even want you to carry them. But if you can go bring on 10, 20, 30 new guys over the course of the next 3, 4, 5 months within direct to you and within your team, well, all of a sudden, it's not just your responsibility anymore. The weight is shared equally. Now, again, the majority of it should always be carried by you because you're the leader, but it's not all on you. And some of you guys have been carrying a cross for way too long. And you feel like everything lives and dies by your own 2 hands. And respectfully, you are not that important. You are not that important. Your job is just to get people to where they want to go, take really good care of your clients, and give your agents a great environment and a great example. So stop worrying so much about getting people over the finish line that don't want you to do it. Bring some people on who do. So that's the first thing. Return to the fundamentals. Don't get so fancy. Fancy means slow. Simple is fast. And the simpler you are, the faster you'll move and the quicker you get out of the rut you're in. My biggest lesson that I learned is every single time I am in a losing streak in my business, I go back to the fundamentals. I go back to what I know and what I'm good at and what I've honed, and I go all in on that. When I feel like I'm not winning in business, here's what I do. I go out there and I go get myself 3, 4, 5 new solid directs. I go write 40, 50,000 points personally within a month. I go stack some money in the bank account to prove to myself that I can do it. And I go find some solid guys that I can run with. And it's almost like the antidote to all my problems. It's the antidote to all my problems. I don't get fancy. I don't try and reinvent the wheel. I don't try and do something that my mentor would smack me up the head if I did do it, if he found out I was doing it. I get simple and I get consistent. That's what I do. So that's point 1. Point number 2, the environment is more important than ever, especially when you're losing. Especially when you're losing. The environment becomes more important than ever. Here's the reason I say this. For a lot of you, we're blessed now. We're in this Zoom virtual hybrid era. I guess it depends a lot on where you're at. Like our US guys are pretty much all remote, right? Our Canadian guys are kind of a mixture, right? If you're somewhere remote, then obviously you're not going into an office. But if you are in an office or in a city, chances are pretty good you have an office space that you can work out of. Here's the problem. Most of you in a city don't even go into the office anyways. That's part of the issue. And while it is a blessing that we are in this virtual era where I can hop on a Zoom call with my laptop, and with the beauty of technology, I can be anywhere in North America with the snap of a finger. I can hop on a call and I can take on a client in Texas. I can hop on my next call and be in Toronto. I can hop on my next call and be in Calgary. And on and on and on. That part is beautiful, but we have lost the art of the environment, I feel, at times, because it's too easy. It's too easy to not go into the office. It's too easy to not be in the environment. It's far too simple. It's much more comfortable to just stay at home, and I can work from home, and I don't have to go into the office and blah, 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 blah. Here's the issue with that. For most of you guys, especially those of you that are part-time and you work remote, here's what your day looks like. And you wonder why you're frustrated and burnt out. You wake up, you go to your job in the morning, most likely. You're surrounded by a bunch of other employees who do not have any entrepreneurial thinking whatsoever. Most of them are probably broke. And so they operate from a very low level of thinking, a low level frequency, a low level energy. And that's what you're surrounded by. And it starts to just kind of infect your mindset. It starts to infect your energy and how you think. And I know I'm being aggressive in my wording here and aggressive in my language, but it's the truth. You get around a negative area, negative environment, and it will start to impact your level of thinking. Then you get off your job, and chances are you go home, and you're surrounded by either yourself, your spouse, or your kids. One of or all of those things. And there's nothing wrong with that, but the reality is your spouse is probably not actively engaged in the business like you are. And if you have kids, especially if they're younger, you walk through the doors. It's like a hurricane the moment you get home. All of a sudden, you're on dad or mom duty. Your spouse is complaining about money and this and that, and they're not engaged in the business, so they're not talking to you about WFG or how you're doing or what do we need to grow, honey, and what are we excited about. It's all, again, low level thinking. At no point here are you engaged in any kind of entrepreneurial thinking. There's no point there where you're engaged in conversations that grow you, excite you, stretch you, get you jazzed up about the business. At no point does that happen. And then, to be honest, most of you probably don't even have appointments that evening because you're struggling in the business. And so you go to bed and you repeat the process, and then you might have one field appointment or two field appointments throughout the week. And, God willing, they go well. Some of them don't. And it just pushes you down even further. When you do have your training night, you're hopping on a Zoom call, you get a little bit of energy, but it's remote. So you're probably sitting on the couch or in your home office. You got some soda on the side. You got the chips to the left. You're barely taking notes. Some of you don't even have your camera on. And you wonder why you aren't moving forward. You wonder why you're not excited about the business. You wonder why you don't have a high level of energy. It's because you're always in a low energy environment, surrounded by people that are also low energy. You hang around a bunch of employees and you wonder why you're not excited to be an entrepreneur. When you frame it like that, like, does it make anything other than complete sense? And probably not. Probably not. It makes complete sense. You will think at the level of your environment and your associations. And so the environment becomes more important than ever. I tell all my guys, I know when I'm struggling, when I'm losing in the business, when I feel like I'm not doing well, then it becomes more important than ever that I get to the office. Why? Because I have to be around people that think like me, that are going through the same challenges as me. I have to go through people that are trying to grow like me. What I also need more than ever is I need to get around people that have already done it, that have already gone through the challenges I've gone through. I need to know that I can walk up the hall and I can knock on a door and boom, there's Chad, $500,000 earner. And I can talk to him and he can sell me the dream on his sneaker collection, right? I can knock on another door and boom, there's Holbrook, $2 million earner. Steve, sell me the dream. Good God, bro, I'm going through it, right? Sell me the dream. I need to know that I can be around guys like that because they stretch me and force me to think big. And by the way, they make me a little uncomfortable. Because if I'm a little uncomfortable, it puts me in a position where I am forced to upgrade my thinking. I'm forced to operate on a different level. I'm forced to not just buy my own pity party. Because I'll tell you what, I can't really ever have excuses around Holbrook because that guy's taken every excuse away from me that I could ever have. And it doesn't matter. I'm not even just talking about health challenges. I'm talking about all the other unseen challenges that no one knows about. And he still shows up at the office earlier than 99% of people, still is in the game, still grinding, still building a team, doing it all at $2 million a year when he does not have to. And so then you think to yourself, well, why in the world would I ever buy my own BS? So I have to be around people that force me to grow, that elevate me and challenge my thinking and just get me in all terms at a better energy and operating at a better frequency. And you know what? I kind of hate even talking with those terms, with that terminology, because it sounds like some sugar-coated, frou-frou nonsense, law of attraction BS. And to be honest with you, I'm not a big law of attraction guy. It's not really my bag. I don't believe that I can manifest a sandwich just by thinking about it. But what I do understand that there is a science behind what you think about, you will become. If you are surrounded by depressed and broke people, you yourself will become depressed and broke. If you are surrounded by people who are negative and they're complainers, guess what? You will become negative and a complainer. It's why, if you think about it, if you've been in the environment, if you are a high-level thinker, if you are growing, if you are a positive person, what happens when you get around people that are negative? It almost becomes repulsive to you, not in a, oh my God, they're disgusting kind of way, but just like in a magnetism way, where it's like, I don't want to be around these people. They almost push me away because of how they act and how they think. So if we know that is true, if we know we will become the average of the people we will hang around, then that same rule also applies to things that are positive for you, environments that are positive for you, people that are positive for you. So why then would we do anything other than get around people and an environment that forces us to be better? And the answer is we shouldn't. We should always be in the environment. I do not have to come to the office. You know what I mean? It's like I live in Narnia. Like, my office is in Northeast Calgary. I live in Southeast Calgary. And I'm not like it's like the boonies. It's like driving up from a different planet. Like, when it snows, it takes me over an hour to get to my office. I still go. Why? I do not have to. I could work every day from home, in my home office, in my studio, still make multiple six figures and not have to worry about it. But my goals are bigger than multiple six figures. I also know how I am as a person. I know that I have to be in that environment because at some point I will start to decline as well. And so if I'm not immune to it, and the biggest guys in the company I know aren't immune to it, why do we think that any of us would also be immune to that kind of decline? The answer is we're not. So the environment's important, and then big events are also important, right? It's impressive to me that people negotiate a big event. It's impressive to me that people will negotiate with their future and, their business and everything like that. We're in an industry and in a business where we have very little overhead, right? We pay $80 a month for a platform fee, which takes care of all of our back office accounting, payroll, administration. We pay a couple $100, if that, for a tech fee, depending on where you're at, so that you can hang your license with a registered office and everything's taken care of for you from a compliance standpoint, and you get a space to work out of. And that's really our overhead. That's all we pay, other than license renewals every year, which we have to do by law. I would challenge you to take that overhead, those expenses, to someone who runs a trucking company or runs a restaurant. Share your overhead with them and watch them laugh at you. So it's just unrelatable to most people that run a traditional brick and mortar business. They'll be like, where's your leasing costs? Where's your overhead? What do you mean you only pay a couple $100 a month to run and operate your business and the rest is pure profit? What do you mean? So if all we have is that, and the only other thing we have to worry about is once a year, we got to make a trip down to Vegas, which, by the way, can we appreciate how ridiculous it seems at times to say, oh my God, I have to go to Vegas. My company wants me to go to Vegas. God, what a hardship, right? Like, it sounds a little ridiculous, right? Once a year, we got to fly down to Vegas, drop $1,000 or $2,000 on a trip. And then outside of that, once a year, we have our national convention here in Canada or in the States or wherever you're at. And that probably is way cheaper, a couple $100 or maybe $1,000 tops. That's all we have to do. That's our overhead. That's how we invest in ourselves and our business and our growth. The reason we do it is because it works. The reason we do it is because I know that every single time I've gone to a big event, my business has grown in size immediately following that big event. And it's immediately made an impact in how I think, how I act, and more importantly, the tangible side of my business, which is production and growth. So if I know all those things are true, I should probably be there. The question is, are you getting there? More importantly, are you putting yourself in an environment where your guys are getting there? More importantly, are you creating environments outside of those events for your people? Because if it's good for your people, it's good for you. If it grows your people, it grows you. So what are we doing for big events? How are we growing them? So that's number 2. Number 3 is lean on your coach, lean on your trainer, lean on your mentor. Here's the thing with this. At time when we're winning in the business, that's when we really like to reach out to our trainers and our partners and our mentors and our coach, whatever you want to call them, right? I call Steve my mentor. I call him my senior partner, whatever. That's when we really like to reach out because we're like, hey man, look at how good I'm doing. Look at how things are going, right? Woo, cheer for me, right? Yeah, I'm not washed up yet. But when things are doing poorly, that's all of a sudden when we go radio silent. When my agents are struggling the most, that's when they call me the least. When I'm struggling the most, that's when I used to call Holbrook the least. You see, the interesting thing with this though, and this is why it's so important to build a relationship with your trainer, with your coach, is Steve now knows better than I do when I'm down. The reason why is because I took the time to build the relationship with him. I have a phenomenal relationship with my mentor. And I don't even really like calling him my mentor. He's just my friend. I have a phenomenal relationship with my friend. And I fostered that over a career where he has seen me go from up and down, up and down, up and down. I've communicated with him when I was winning, and I've communicated with him when I was losing. You want to know why that's so important, you guys? Is because now he knows better than I do at times the early warning signs of when I'm declining. More importantly, he knows when I'm down, and I don't even have to say anything to him. Very often, when I go through these periods, I will get a phone call out of the blue from Holbrook, and he'll be like, hey, buddy, just wanted to check on you. How are things? I've noticed X, Y, Z. I've noticed this issue, that problem. You seem a little bit down. Your energy seems lower. What's going on here? What's going on there? How can I help you? And then I get the phone call from him that I need. I get the coaching from him that I need. I get the direction from him that I need. And he's almost like, it's almost crazy. He's almost kind of like a Jedi. He always knows the right thing to say. Every single time he knows the right thing to tell me. But the reason he knows that is because we have fostered a relationship over our career where he knows what I need. He knows how to talk to me. He knows how to relate to me, and he knows how to coach me and guide me. So can he do any of those things for me if I don't lean on him and if I haven't fostered that relationship? Absolutely not. The problem for you guys, is most of your coaches only know how to communicate with you when you're winning, because you only reach out to them when you're winning, and they have no idea how to direct you and guide you when you're losing, because they don't even know what's going on with you, because you don't reach out to them. Because you feel embarrassed, because you feel ashamed, because you don't want to waste your senior partner's time and call him up and say, man, I had a crap day. I've made no phone calls. I had no meetings, and I just ate another chargeback, and my best guy quit yesterday, by the way. You're afraid to tell him that. But if you don't tell him that, how can he guide you? How can he direct you? How can he help you? And the answer is he cannot. He cannot. So it's twofold. It's short-term and long-term. Short-term and long-term. You need to reach out to your coach. You need to reach out to your mentor when you are winning, but you also need to reach out to them when you're losing, because they can help course correct you. Now, the good thing is some of you guys have coaches that they are so good with people that they can recognize it without them even needing to have that pre-built relationship. It's just easier if it's there, and it's more effective if it's there. Truth be told, I know when most of my guys are struggling in the business, they don't have to tell me. I'm not an idiot. I can see the numbers. I know if they haven't made any money. I know if their recruiting is down. I know if their production's down. I know about the chargeback they just ate. I know when I need to call them. I know when I need to go all in on them more than ever before. But I'm more effective at doing it if I've built the relationship with my guys, and that's a two-way street. It's twofold. It's not always just me calling them or them calling me. It's a mutual dynamic between me and them. The relationship is mutual. Excuse me. So, are you building that relationship? Are you allowing your coach to have the space to help you? But then also, are you training them on how to train you? Are you building that relationship? Because if I got a good relationship built up with one of my guys, I can call him up and I don't have to tiptoe around the subject. I don't have to sugarcoat everything I say. I can call my agent up and I can say, hey, can I have a direct business conversation with you? Right? Can I talk to you as your senior partner? Can I talk to you as your trainer? Can I talk to you as your leader, as your coach, instead of as your friend for 5 minutes? Can we have that talk? And they know me well enough, and our relationship is built well enough that they know that everything I'm saying is not coming from a place of, I want you to feel like crap. It's coming from a place of, I want to help you. But if that relationship's not there, it's a lot harder. So how much do you lean on your coach? Most of you guys step back, you retract, you put up walls. And it doesn't actually come from a place of you don't want help. Most of the time for a lot of you, it comes from a place of you don't want to feel like you're bothering your senior partner because you're not performing well and you feel ashamed and scared to admit it. Here's the reality. Every single person around you has gone through it. They've either gone through it, are currently going through it, or they will go through it. Like I said at the start. And I promise you, if you're getting your butt whooped in the business, if you looked around your base shop, looked around your team, if you looked around your hierarchy, you could look down the halls of your office. If there's 10 people down the hall, 6, 5, or 4 of them are probably getting their butt whooped just like you. So trust me, you're not unique. And the other 5, 6, or 3 of them are all about to have the exact same thing happen to them in the future, right? More importantly, your senior partner has gone through the exact same hardship and struggle. So if you have someone who's already walked over the landmines and has already gone through the hardships and the obstacles and knows how to overcome them, does it not then make sense to reach up for a helping hand to help you climb out of the hole that you're now in? You see, my thing was I always wanted to condense the time frames of my business. If I know that I am surrounded by people that have walked the path I'm trying to walk, I would obviously want to reach out to them to receive direction on how to walk that path. I want to condense my time frames. I don't want to go through the same mistakes and the same obstacles and the same hardship for the same period of time and the same period of struggle as they went through. Allow them to condense the time frame. Allow them to shorten the struggle. Allow them to show you the way through. And they can only do it if you reach out to them. It is not your senior partner's responsibility, believe it or not, to reach out to you and coach you and be your therapist every time something goes wrong. Believe it or not. They're busy. They're working with a lot of people. It's your responsibility to reach out. Now, if they're good, they'll do it, but it's your responsibility to reach out. And then that creates a dynamic. It creates a relationship. It creates a bond where now they know when to reach out to you and they're even better at helping you. Most of you guys do not lean on your coach nearly enough. You treat this team-based business like a solo sport. And you're in a team-based business. And that means that everybody helps everybody from the top down to the bottom up. Doesn't matter. I try to bring as much value to Steve as he brings to me. I will never be able to do that, by the way. I don't think I'll ever be able to bring him an equal amount of value to him that he has brought to me. But I every single day, I just try and reduce the debt. You know what I mean? I try and chip away at the debt as much as I can. Number 4. This is a time for radical action. Here's what I mean by this. Most of you, truth be told, are not actually losing as badly as you think you are. And you're more depressed than you think you are because of the fact that you've become stagnant in the business. I am the kind of guy, and I'm sure a lot of you will relate to this, and if you can't relate to it, that's okay, but this is just how I think and how I operate. I am the kind of guy where I feel depressed, I feel the most down, I feel the most anxious, I feel the most frustrated when I feel like I'm not moving or progressing in my life or in my business. If I feel stagnant, if I feel like I'm not actually growing or developing or moving or seeing tangible results or the impacts of my actions, if I feel like that, if I feel like I'm just spinning my tires, that's when I feel the most depressed. That's when I go into a hidey hole of depression, right? And it's harder to get me out of it. What I have found in time is that more often than not, I'm not actually down as bad as I think I am, and I'm way, way closer to getting out of the hole than I thought I was. But because I get so caught up in my own BS and because I get so caught up in my own stagnation, I think I'm way further down than I actually am. And so what are ways that we can get out of it? Well, here's what I believe. And this might work for you. It might not work for you. It works for me. I have found the best way to get out of a period of a losing streak is to shock your system radically. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, first thing you can do is you can shock your routine. So, for instance, in May, I was at Thawley's Ranch with 9 of our other guys, and we were with the Navy SEALs and the Army Rangers and Dev Crew guys. We went through a weekend of very intense physical and mental activity. Let's put it that way. I'm not going to go into it. But I was excited for it and I wanted to do it because I felt like I had hit a rut in my life and in my business. I felt like I was stagnant. I felt like I wasn't developing. I felt like my mindset wasn't growing and improving. In every area of my life, I felt like I was stuck. And so I knew that I needed to do something that shocked my system radically, took me out of my comfort zone and put me in a position where all of a sudden I'm now radically uncomfortable. Now, does that mean that you have to take it to the extreme of go out in the middle of nowhere, California, when it's 40 degrees Celsius outside and freaking get your butt whooped by a bunch of Navy SEALs for 3 days straight? No, it doesn't mean you have to do it. Although it's wildly effective, by the way, I highly recommend it, but it doesn't mean you have to do that. But it does mean that maybe what you need more than anything is something that shocks your system and shocks your routine. What are some things that you can do to change it up? I'm willing to wager that for a lot of you right now, if you feel stagnant, it's probably because every damn day looks the same. Every day looks the same. You wake up at the same time, you go to work at the same time, your business hours are the exact same thing, your team call is always the exact same call. Everything is routine and nothing is changing and nothing about it excites you. So change it up. I will change things up in my business. Man, I'll have those periods where I will take a look at everything that I'm doing within my organization and I'll light it on fire. If I got a team call I did this. I would have a team huddle every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I completely nuked the thing and I changed up the whole format. Mondays and Fridays, whole new format. I did a team call on Tuesdays for all my guys. Hated the way I was doing it, didn't inspire me. I nuked that call too, and I changed up the day and the time and the format to better spotlight our people. Because I'm not motivated by myself, I'm motivated by the success of my guys. So I wanted to change up the routine. I wanted to change up how I approach my business. I wanted to change up how I did things. Because what it does is it excites me and it gets me moving forward faster with a higher level of energy and a higher level of foolish enthusiasm because now I have changed up my routine. And I'm excited for those changes and what they may bring for my business. So where are some things in your business that you can identify that you can change up? What about in your life? What are some things that you can do within your fitness life, your health life, your family life that you can do to change up your routine? You need to radically shock your system to get yourself out of your rut, out of your stagnation. And the only way to do it is to radically change something within that routine. Knocks you out of the rut, knocks you out of your level of thinking, forces you outside of your comfort zone, either to a small degree or to a large degree. Doesn't matter. But you have to shock your routine. In tandem with that, the final thing I would say with this is that you have to stack some wins. You know, I got a really good buddy of mine. He runs a barber shop here in Calgary. His name's Haas. Shout out to Haas. I'm sure he's not listening to this, but his name's Haas. He runs one of the, in my opinion, the best barber shop in all of Calgary. It's also one of the highest rated barbershops in all of Calgary. And it's one of the few businesses I've ever seen that started in COVID and immediately started to turn a profit within 2 years. He's very, very good at business. And we were talking about this in the chair and he was like, man, what do you do when you feel stuck, when you feel stagnant, when you just feel uninspired by your routine? These are the things we talk about while he holds scissors to my face, right? To my head. So I have to give him an honest answer or else he'll mess up my hairdo, right? And I told him about the shock your routine thing. But the other thing is you got to stack some wins. By the way, the barbershop is Barber and Sons. Shout out to them if you want to go there. They're amazing. But you got to stack some wins. So what I mean by that is for a lot of you is, you know, you feel like you're on this losing streak. And you know what? The reason why it hits you guys so hard is because more often than not, if you are going through a losing streak where it's hitting you really hard, it's because up until this point in your career, you have not actually been losing. You've actually probably been winning. Most people in this business, if they start slow and they stay slow, it's not really a big deal for them. You know what I mean? Because they're just used to not really getting any accolades, any recognition, any wins, anything like that. They're just happy doing their thing. But if you're a high performer and then boom, you smack into a wall and you get knocked down, it hits you way harder. All the guys that I see that really, really, really struggle when they hit a losing period are the guys who are 1 point were kicking everybody's butt And the reason it hits you so hard is because in your career, up until that point, you've been receiving dopamine hit after dopamine hit after dopamine hit after dopamine hit. It's like you had an IV hooked up to you and all you were getting hit with was dopamine hit, dopamine hit, dopamine hit. You were just winning, right? You were winning. And then all of a sudden, boom, reality hits. You get knocked down. All of a sudden, those good feelings aren't there anymore. And it's like a withdrawal. It's like a come off. Reason why it's reality and why it's going to happen to every single one of you, if it hasn't happened yet and will happen, is because if you are at the top of the mountain and you're trying to get to the next mountain, there's only one way you can go. If you are at the peak, there is only one direction you can go, and it's down before you start climbing again. It's just a reality. It's the nature of this business. It's the nature of any business. There will be ups and there are downs. And if you are at the very top of the mountain, if you hit as high as you can go, the only direction that you can go to move forward is down for a period of time. So that's why it hits you so hard, by the way. It's why you feel like you're a loser. It's why you feel like you have imposter syndrome. It's why you feel like you're not good at the business. It's why you feel like you're stuck. I hear people say this all the time. In fact, just yesterday, I was in the office and I heard one of the most talented individuals who I have ever seen do this business, one of the hardest working guys who I have ever seen do this business, say out loud, I don't even know if I'm that good. Well, history has shown you are that good. But because you haven't had that period of win like you were in the past, now you think you aren't. You're not a loser. You don't suck. You are cut out for this business and you are that good. But all you are faced with right now is a body of evidence that indicates that you have more growth to do. Because you were at the top and you had to go down. And now the next direction, guess what? Is you get to start going back up again. So how do we do that? It's very simple. We have to start stacking some wins. Doesn't mean they have to be big wins, right? Doesn't mean you have to go out and get $1 million money move and woo, 50 grand in my bank account. Though if that pops up, definitely do it. It's a lot of fun. Doesn't mean you have to do that. What I'm talking about is you start stacking gradual wins. You start stacking consistent activity that's positive, that makes you feel like you're moving your business forward. Now, it can be those 3 tangibles I talked about earlier in my first point, but it can also just be something as simple as, shit, you made 10 phone calls today or 5 phone calls today where yesterday you made 0. You hopped on some phone zones with your guys and you booked 15, 20, 30, 40 units for the week, whereas before you had nothing on the books. You went and took your agent who's kind of struggling a little bit out into the field and you had an amazing meeting. Maybe you didn't close anything. Maybe you didn't get a recruit. Maybe you didn't even get referrals, but that person on the phone or on the meeting absolutely loved it. And all they could do was rant and rave to your agent about how impressed they are. That's a win. That's a win. Doesn't matter if it's the biggest win, but it's still a win. And a win is a win. It could be going and finding a fresh new direct who's fired up and hungry and eager and driven. Or you know what? It might even just be as simple as making it to the office where that day you just felt like you really didn't want to go. I don't believe, by the way, that showing up is half the battle. I think that's a dangerous mentality. It's not half the battle, it's the start. But that's the key word. It's the start. And you can't start winning if you don't even start. So maybe it's just showing up to the office. I don't care what it is. I don't care what you do. Just find some things that you can do in your business to start stacking some wins. Maybe you go on a prospecting spree. Maybe you go make some dials where before you did none. Maybe you try and set yourself to a standard. If I'm going to do 2 appointments a day, or maybe it's 2 appointments a week if you're part-time and you were doing 0 before. Maybe you do a 30-day blitz of unsustainable activity to prove yourself that you can do it. That's what I did. When everybody was before it became the, oh my God, Trey and Ash are just blowing it up and they came out of nowhere. Before all that stuff happened, there was a period in my business where my wife set me aside and we were struggling and we were getting our butt whooped. And she said, honey, I'm going to handle everything on the home front for you. You have the month of October. Go and do it. Show me what you're actually made of. You know what? Damn well, I did it. because I went and wrote up 62,000 personal points that month. Solo, no team, no agency. And I stacked about 30 grand and over 30 grand in our bank account that month. I looked pretty hot to her that month. I was looking sexier than normal. But that moment proved to me that I could do it. It was a massive win for me. And I carried that momentum for the rest of my career. And I carry that momentum even when I'm down and when I'm losing and when I feel like I'm not winning. So here's the reality, you guys. Here's the truth, whether we like it or not. If you're in this business and you've come here to build something, you have endeavored to embark on a very difficult journey. I'm just going to be straight up with you. This is not easy. Building something worthwhile isn't easy, and it shouldn't be easy because it is worthwhile, because it is significant, and because it is more worth it than you actually think it will be. Getting to SMD is more worth it than you think it is. Getting to six figures is more worth it than you think it is. Finally starting to buy your life back is more worth it than you think it is. But to make all that happen, you are going to go through some element of struggle. The business isn't easy, but it's simple. And as a result of that, you know that you can expect amazing times in this business and you will expect difficult times in this business. The difficult times are going to show you who you are. The question is, who are you? Are you someone who gets caught up in them for months on end and you buy your own pity party? Or are you someone who just rises to the challenge and just gets through it? Either way, you're going to find out who you are and what you're made of. You're either going to be slow and you stay there forever, or you quit. Or you just get through it bigger, better, and stronger before with a higher degree and capacity to deal with problems and hard challenges as they come. And the reason why these problems and difficult times are so significant is because at some point, there is going to be someone on your team who's going through the exact same thing that you went through. And now you finally have the blueprint to show them the way through it. And you can't do it if you cut a corner or if you just wrote it out. You can only show them how to get through it if you yourself got through it. The greatest thing that you can be for somebody is a lifeline. You're the helping hand that pulls them out of their struggle. So you have a choice. Do you want to be the lifeline? Do you want to be the helping hand? Do you want to be the guiding light? Do you want to be the role model? Do you want to be the example? Or do you want to be the person that everybody points at and says, yeah, he went through it too and he quit. He didn't make it through it because the difficulty was that he was going through, the challenge that he went through was more significant to him than the dreams and the goals that he said mattered. His hardship and his struggle ultimately was greater than his love for his family, for his kids, for himself, for his team, and for his clients. You have the choice. We all get that choice. And we sometimes are faced with that choice multiple times, numerous times throughout your career. You will not be faced with that choice just once. But what I can promise you, every single time that you get through it, you come out the other side better. I believe you have to go through those things because they make you better. They make you stronger. They make you a better leader. They make you a better person. All the hard things that I've gone through have increased my capacity as a husband, as a dad, and as a leader, and as an advisor to my clients. If I'd never gone through anything difficult, I can't relate to people that are going through hardship. But as a matter of fact, I can relate because I've gone through a lot of hardship and a lot of struggle, just like all of you have. And all of you will continue to do. So just understand that you're not some loser. You're not bad at the business. You're not someone who can't do it because you're going through a losing streak. You can do it. You are awesome. You are good at the business. You are cut out for it. You're just merely going through a period that everybody else goes through and has to go through because it defines you and shapes who you are. So I hope that helps some of you. And I hope it's tangibles and a mindset and a way of looking at this business and maybe a way of looking at yourself that helps you get through this stuff. Because when you put the financial products and the compensation and the tangibles of what we do about this business to the side, at the end of the day, the only real weapon that we have, the only real thing that we have that can get us through it, the only thing that really matters is your heart and your mind. And those are going to determine everything about you. And they'll determine your career, they'll determine your relationships, and they'll determine the legacy that you leave, whether it's positive or negative. So I appreciate you guys. This has been a Founders Corner. I have been your host, Trey Lansdell. I love you all, and I'll see you all next time. Take care.